there, welcome to lesson 9. It's all about the finger phalanges. So you have, like in this image, 1, 2, 3, the top, middle and base phalange. So these segments of the fingers are separated by the crease marks. They can vary in size, and depending on their length and thickness, they can reveal strengths or weaknesses in the area that they represent. In order to recognize a short, thin or thick phalange, you can compare them with each other, the first, second and third. If all the phalanges are equal, whether they are short or long, then they're not particularly remarkable. It shows the balance of the mind and body. So here you have the first area, which represents psychic intuition, receiving and expressing, mental energy and sensitivity. The middle section represents mental capacity, logic, judgment and reasoning. And the third section represents the physical energy, materiality and personal style. The top phalanges are normally slightly shorter than the middle and lower ones, as you can see in this picture. That is not really classed as short because that's average for it to be slightly shorter. The top phalange represents the area of your mind in respect to psychic intuition and spirit, your character and how much enthusiasm you have for things in general, how you observe the things in your mind and how sensitive your perception is. So if all the top phalanges are long compared to the middle and lower ones, the intellect from an intuitive perspective will play a large role in the way of thinking. So what that means is they are likely to be intuitive and they use their instinct in their decision making. If they're full and fleshy fingertips compared to the other phalanges, this will give perfectionist tendencies. When all the top phalanges appear extremely fat or bulbous, it describes someone who wants to know everything. These people will also be quite pushy or interfering when it may not be necessary. But on the other aspect of this feature is they are energetic and hardworking. They're perhaps rather good with their hands. When the fleshy tips are spatulate, it shows an independent and somewhat restless character, but with obsessive inclinations. They can see the big picture, so do make excellent craftsmen, engineers or sportsmen. If the top phalanges are thin, like in that picture there, much of what they perceive is dreamlike. They have a sensitive, idealistic and somewhat mystical nature and are quite fussy in all tastes. They are the romantic types. Now, because it is the top phalange, these meanings are pretty much the same as fingertip shapes that we discussed in an earlier lesson. So when they are thin, they can be unrealistic or have a disinterest in society. They may also appear eccentric, like the woman with 20 cats. So the narrow top phalanges can also point to a lack of energy, especially if the tips are soft. So they will prefer to delegate work to others. The narrow tip shows that the mind is instinctive and sharp, summing up situations fast. They could well be psychic, but with this sharpness, you might find that they're argumentative because of their lack of being able to see the whole picture. The thin pointed tips also might suggest that they are quite concerned about their appearances and will get offended easily. Talking about each individual fingers now, So the first phalange on the Mercury finger. Here, the short one shows they're imaginative, and the long one shows a quick mind, intuitive and articulate. So a long and spatula tip on the Mercury finger would not only belong to someone who can talk, is very articulate, but they will actually go out and do what they're talking about. They will be hands-on. A short first phalange suggests a man of few words, or one who is mentally lazy. They are the procrastinators. If the first phalange is long, like in this picture here, you can see it is longer than the other two. It belongs to those who love to communicate their thoughts. In other words, they like to talk a lot. They won't just comment in the conversation. You will probably be given the whole story from the very beginning. So these people are probably not as good listeners, but definitely good talkers. If the Mercury fingertip has a long first phalange, as well as being thin or pointed, then the sensitivity is heightened, which can, in effect, amplify the intuitive faculties. Next finger now, we're talking about the Apollo finger. A long top phalange here depicts sensitivity and portrays the intelligence. They tend to enjoy the thought of beauty and have a good taste and style. If excessively long, they can be a bit of a show-off, much like if the finger itself is long as well. A short tip here displays the opposite, of course, a more scientific and technical mind with not a great deal of interest in the arts or beauty. If the first phalange is thick or bulbous, it can suggest obsession with beauty or music or some form of art. A thin top phalange shows a starry-eyed, romantic or idealistic nature. Now we're talking about the middle finger, the Saturn finger. With perception and spirit in mind, the first phalange on the Saturn will show the qualities in regards to how we perceive certain boundaries and discipline from a more sober point of view. A short first phalange portrays someone who may not have an appreciation for their state of affairs or spirituality. They may find fault with it all, so kind of like a negative attitude. But at the same time, they still have a seemingly laid-back attitude. While they can be original in their ideas, they can be impulsive with money. But otherwise, a calm and gentle nature comes with the short tip on Saturn. If the short Saturn fingertip has a fleshy tip, it can reveal one who is unrefined with lousy manners. If it has a long top, it shows a serious nature, maybe someone who is somewhat of a prude, but very law-abiding with a sensitive conscience. So they are a rational thinker. If it happens to be exceedingly long, like unusually long, it displays melancholy, negative thinking, or a superstitious person. The Jupiter finger. It's about idealism, ambition, self-esteem, and religion. So the first phalange will show how much of these energies we use intuitively. When the tip of the finger is long, it can indicate a deeply religious or political nature. A short one is a sign of a skeptic in general, especially in religion. A fleshy tip is your classic man of action, a busy person and often a specialist in a field, most likely an inventor. A thin top phalange here shows the idealist, not often very practical. Talking about the middle section now, the second phalanges. So the middle phalanges characterize the region of mental capacity and how much strength is in the area of practical thought and logic, putting ideas into action. So the top one was about ideas. This is more about the action. When all the fingers have long middle phalanges compared to the others, the person will be super efficient and very active in general. It kind of represents intelligence, or just how much they like to use their mind. They'll be confident, determined, intelligent, and business-minded. They often have a great attention to detail directed into the academics or the arts. These people will enjoy study or research, and so will often have an extensive collection of books. When the middle phalanges appear shorter than average, the mind or the attitude may be somewhat laid back, with a lack of interest in mental pursuits. They tend to be disorganized and impractical as well. So ideally, the middle phalanges should be equal or longer. Short middle phalanges are not very nice. So going on to individual fingers, starting with the little finger, the Mercury finger, which represents academics, business and communication. So a long middle section here strengthens those qualities. These people are usually good with money. They're confident and bold. If this area is the shortest, it shows the opposite. A thin section may suggest someone who does well with theories, but not as much with practical matters. If the middle section is the longest and thick, it shows a business-minded person with an active mind. The ring finger now, the Apollo finger, which represents self-expression from a creative and individual style point of view. So the middle phalange will show how much thought goes into this aspect. So a long section in the middle of the Apollo finger displays a love of detail, not only in art, but of any other interest. They will use common sense and statistics when approaching matters concerning their endeavours. On this finger, you can tell that the middle section is longer than the bottom, and this hand does belong to a person who is very good into details in his work. But if it happens to be shorter than the others, there will be a lack of inspiration and a lack of natural talent. They will not see style or expression of art as necessary at all. A thick area in the middle will suggest the person can put practical form to his or her ideas and will be able to express it well. When it is thin, the owner will tend to stick to bare essentials in their style or artistic sense, preferring things to be formal or simple. If they do have to use detail, they will indeed fuss over it excessively because it doesn't come naturally to them. They tend to just keep going until they're happy with the result. So say, for example, if they were doing a painting, they are not worried about the detail, but if it's necessary, they will rub it out, start again, rub it out, start again, rub it out, start again, and just keep fussing over it like that. So that's for a thin middle section for the ring finger. Now the middle finger, the Saturn. Saturn is all about responsibility and the law. So if Saturn finger has a long middle section, it is a sign of a natural investigator, a leader and decision maker. Mentally, they will take things very seriously and they will have superior self-control. A short middle phalange on Saturn is not a splendid sign, as it depicts someone who lacks leadership skills and has no particular interest in any science, like a lazy mind. The Jupiter finger now, which represents our ambitions, idealism, our self-image and leadership. So when the middle phalange on the Jupiter is long, it depicts a very observant and self-conscious nature. These people have a tremendous amount of logical influence. They're primarily motivated and persistent towards their aims. A long middle phalange also shows a studious, intellectually proficient and efficient individual. If it happens to be long and thin, they will do just about anything to achieve their goals. When it is shorter than the others, it shows that they will not put in much effort to pursue their dreams, but instead happily go with the flow. If the middle phalange is thick, the ambitions and mental pursuits will be directed towards seeking personal pleasure. Talking about the third phalanges now, which is the base of the finger, which refers to the material world, including physical energy, love, sensuality, appearances, money, possessions, basic needs and urges. When all of the base phalanges are long, there will be a valuable amount of physical energy and a lot of importance placed on looks in all aspects. And what I mean by looks in all aspects is not just your physical appearance, but your surroundings, how your house looks and how your car looks, how your desk is, and everything has to be just right. If they are also thick, it indicates sensuality. It also denotes someone somewhat indolent, materialistic, or selfish. They may be spoilt by luxuries. Either spoil themselves by luxuries or someone else spoils them. When all of them are thin, it's usually with noticeable gaps at the base when the fingers are held closed. What these spaces can mean is that possessions or money may not be a necessity for these people, or that the needs of others will come first. The pleasures of life on a personal level may be denied, a sign of sobriety, not a person who goes out to party a lot. So the zest for life, imagination, ego, and even emotions may be a little bit lacking. Starting with the fingers now on the third phalanges, which is the base, which represents not only business and communication, but also intelligence and sexuality because of the Mercury finger. From these base phalanges, we can judge whether someone prefers a quiet style or something more flamboyant in respect to these qualities of Mercury. If the third phalange is the longest, it reveals that the location and arrangement of their business or workplace will be of importance. They like their office spacious and modern, with the taking care that everything is where it should be. They are frequently intelligent and capable of making money. Intimacy is effortless for them, as they are unashamed to show this aspect of their character. If with a short base phalange, like on this finger, it's barely visible. It is so short, it's hardly visible. It shortens the length of the pinky is short because of that little section is short. So if with a short one, it depicts the opposite of what we just discussed about the long one, and belongs to one who doesn't have concern about how their business or workplace looks. So they most likely have an untidy or unorganized desk. Even their handwriting will be messy, and the presentation of their work will be disorderly. They'll often prefer working from home as well. We're going to discuss those more because there's quite a bit involved in the Mercury finger. So if the base phalange is very short and thin, it can suggest that in regards to intimacy, they are quite reserved and may find it difficult to initiate an act of sex with anyone. They may have a lack of instinct for it or just overly inhibited regarding their body. They may lack a desire for sex. It is compensated for with their sincere and trustworthy nature. With a thick or full third phalange, it shows an emphasized material taste, immodesty and arrogance. These people will want to have everything and live life to its fullest. If long and thick, their office workspace will have plush furnishings and all the gadgets and equipment that they desire. If combined with a full mount of Venus, the ball of the thumb, and a thick third phalange of Apollo, it denotes a salacious and potentially narcissistic character with an exceptionally keen sex drive. So opposite to lacking. The third phalange on the Apollo finger. Thinking about the physical world of style and creativity. The length of this phalange shows how much of these qualities are present. A short base phalange on the Apollo finger signifies a lack of talent and interest in style, art, or fashion. That is a minimalist. The want of success is not apparent for these people. A long base phalange shows a performer, one who places importance in the material world, and they pay attention to their looks and are usually quite vain. If it is also thick, they will most likely enjoy eating, cooking, and socializing, because the Apollo finger does also represent your social life. A thick base phalange coupled with a full or well-developed mount of Venus and a third phalange on Mercury finger depicts a seducer, the classic Casanova. All right, the Saturn finger now. The Saturn acts like a balancing quality, and when talking about the physical world of Saturn, it can represent our connection to material things. So a long one, materialistic, money skills, self-disciplined. A short one, eccentric, minimalist, and thrifty. So the short one describes one who has no attachment to material possessions or places. They're not likely to stay in one place for long, and they're not likely to hoard or collect objects either. A long base phalange shows someone who's orderly and neat, but if it's extremely long, it represents greed. If it is thin, there will be a disinterest in progress and in keeping up with what everyone else is doing. A thick base phalange shows materialism and selfishness, but with an outgoing and socially dignified nature. Now, the base phalanges of the Jupiter finger. From a physical perspective, the third phalange of Jupiter represents our love of nature, our self-image and personal style. Sensuality and passion for all the comforts of material things in life, including food and drink, usually come before mental pursuits. A short third phalange denotes someone who is easygoing and casual. They may be shy or unconfident. Also, they won't be concerned about their sense of dress. The animalistic and sensual aspects will be less than average. Continuing on, the Jupiter finger, a long section on the base section shows pride, ambition, and a dominant nature, often belonging to the businessman or woman. These people will love to dress up, look good, and feel good. There will be a love of life, money, and property. If it's thin, it shows a sober disposition and a disapproval of the pleasures in life. Food is merely a nourishment for the body. For this reason, they usually eat only healthy food. Mental activities will favour the physical or material world. A desk, a chair, a bed, and some books will be all they really need or want. A thick and long phalange denotes an active ego with a keen consciousness of their material world. They want to live comfortably and love devoting time to enhance their beauty and appreciation of everything sensual. They are fond of food and drink. With the gratification of their appetite keen, they rarely resist their cravings. So a short section at the base shows a casual, easygoing, understated personality. A long one shows a controlling, materialistic, someone who cares about their self-appearance. That is the end of lesson 9. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson and I look forward to the next one.